Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. So I thought we'd take a few minutes and just talk about gas saws for the beginner carver, or if you're you've been carving for a little bit, you're still in that beginner phase and you're thinking, what should I get next? We're kind of going to go over that as well, as far as upgrading the saws that you have. If you're interested in that, be sure to give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe, stick around. Alright guys, so I've done a video like this a couple different times over the years. Things change, new models come out. We get new followers here on the channel, looking for answers, like what should I get for starting carving, or what should my next saw be. Obviously this is like just my opinion, total opinion based video, and hopefully it'll help you out. Now, a couple things before you even buy a chainsaw, unless you already have them and you've been carving. You should really get the proper PPE. You should get chainsaw chaps or pants to protect your legs. You should wear safety toe, steel toe boots kind of stuff. Ear protection, eye protection. A dust mask isn't a bad idea either. Safety's in your own hands. You guys follow my videos, you're learning how to carve, run chainsaws, that kind of stuff. It is up to you to learn your equipment and to use it safely and properly. So with that said, let's talk about some chainsaws. Now, if you've been carving, you probably already have this one, but if you're just starting out, I've always recommended the Stihl MS 170. This saw can be very versatile from beginning to the middle and to the end of your career of chainsaw carving. Like, you can use a saw this size, which is a homeowner saw, for the life of your career. Whether it's the exact model or if you have to buy a new one in the future, that's obviously how it goes, right? Sometimes they get blown up, you mistreat them, whatever, and you got to get a new one. But the 170 is a great all-around saw. Now, the sad thing is Stihl has discontinued the 170s and 180s. So what is the next thing? Well, the next thing in line is a 162 or 172. Now, this here is a 172. They actually have about the same power as a 180. The nice thing is with these saws, you can start off carving, right? They're in the cheaper range. I do recommend the 172 over the 162. It's a little more power. Like I said, it's about the size of the MS 180. I have already found, I'm not carving with it yet, but what I have found is the sprockets that fit the 170s fit the 172s, 162s, 182s, all the way up to the 250s. So what that means is if you're running a 3/8 pitch, which is a different pitch chain and bar and sprocket, you can get any of those in quarter pitch and swap them over. Now, I like to take my smaller saws, 170, 180, 162, 172. I like to put quarter pitch on those. I like to run 43 gauge chain. It also gives you the ability to just pop on a dime tip bar. Dime tip bar is the one that comes down really narrow. I forgot to grab that saw. I've got a dime tip bar here on my 193C. This kind of bumps you up to like that farm and ranch, close to a professional saw. Well, these are homeowners, okay? So the dime tip bar, you gotta have a different sprocket and bar. We'll do a video talking about that stuff later on. But again, beginners, 162, 172, good small saw to start with. So let's say you got your small saw, you plan on making that a detail saw later on. Detail saw means you're going to put quarter pitch sprocket, bar, chain, maybe a dime tip bar, something like that. After that, what are you going to use for blocking? Well, you can go to another small to medium saw or go to something a little bit bigger. I like to have small saws for detail saws, which will include dime tip bars and just regular short roll nose bars. So dime tip bar, solid nose. Roll nose bar is nothing, this is nothing special. Like, this is a quarter pitch 12-inch bar. So quarter pitch sprocket I had to put on, 12-inch bar, regular 43 gauge chain, quarter pitch. That's it. Makes these 170s rip. So it's going to make that 162, 172 cut that much faster. It's great for small carvings. It's great for some detail work, right? If you're not ready to get or spend the money on a dime tip bar, but you'd already be set up. So after that, what do you want to do as far as like the next saw? You could get into a 182 up to like the 250 or 251. Now the 182 is equivalent to the older 210s, 211s, I believe. So you're running right around that same CC, even though it's called a 182. In my opinion, like my first two saws that I really got going with was a 170 and a 250. So I think you can get away with a 162, 172 and like a 250 or a 251. Now you can block medium to larger carvings with a 250, 251. You got power for that. And you can get into some bigger pieces as well with having a 250. And 250 is an all-around good saw for that kind of stuff. But you get into bigger carvings, 4 feet and larger, you want to be able to work a little bit quicker, take bigger chunks. It's going to cut slower with that 18-inch bar. You want to look at stepping up to like a 271 or a 291. Now, in my opinion, there really is a big difference between the 291 and the 271. You got a lot of power with this 291. If you're used to running saws down here that are smaller, these two saws, which are bigger, 271, 291, there's a lot more power here, so you need to get way more comfortable, be safer, and just think about your cuts, because kickback on these is going to be even stronger than kickback on those. Now, these will still mess you up if you're not prepared. It's a chainsaw, so you got to be prepared for that. But this is kind of it, right? This is kind of the basic lineup for me when it comes to gas saws. I also have, like I showed earlier, the MS-193 for detail work. Now I think it's like the 194. It's not a very cheap saw to get into, right, if you're a beginner. If you have expendable cash though, and you want to buy something that is a bit lighter, feels a little bit better in the hands when you've got to do a lot of detail work all day long, you can look at the 194C or the 200 or a 201C. It's kind of that same setup, and then you just get a quarter pitch sprocket and you put your dime tip bar on there. Now, just like a quick recap though, right? If you're a beginner, you can get used saws. That's also not a bad idea to start out with. It's really not. You just need to make sure they're in good shape, they fire up, they run. Never buy a used saw that you're not allowed to start or anything like that. Don't waste your time with it, because you could end up having to put more parts and time and money into it than you want or that you know how to do. I've got another channel, Kyle's Chainsaw Rescue. We work on a lot of units there, walk you guys through steps, things like that. So if you need help with those things, hopefully I can help you out on that channel. So, right, beginner, very beginner, heading toward intermediate, that kind of stuff. 170, 180, 162, 172, 182, up to a 250, 251. This stuff, you get going, get practicing. This stuff can make you all the money you need to just have fun with it, right? This is also kind of like the affordable stuff to just have fun with it if you don't plan on selling. So, you can spend a couple $100 on a saw and be blocking and carving and having fun. You can also take these smaller saws down here, get a quarter pitch sprocket. You can swap your dime tip bar on and off one unit. If that was the case, I'd recommend at least the 172 to do that. This is where efficiency comes in though, right? As a beginner or an intermediate carver, you're starting to sell your work. It is not efficient to keep taking a bar off and putting a bar on and taking it off and putting it on. So, you have a dedicated detail saw, whether it's one of these or you spend the money on one of those, and you kind of go from there. Then you have a saw for blocking small to medium pieces, and you have a saw for detailing, and you can just keep carving. Intermediate to moving up to somebody that's doing it closer to full time, you're still keeping and running all these, and then you're just kind of stepping up, like that 250, or if you really want to spend some money, you can get a 261, which is a pro saw equivalent. 250, between a 250 and 271 is at 261. But most of my stuff, we're talking like homeowner to like maybe that farm and ranch kind of saw. I'm not running a bunch of pro saws. I will say the 291 feels like a pro saw. This thing rips. If you're not prepared, it'll get you. But as you progress, you're gonna need some saws with beef to get through some bigger logs. You get into logs that are 2-3 feet across, and you're carving something that's 5, 6, 7, 8 feet tall, and you're trying to do it with this stuff. That is not efficient. It's just way too long. It's not efficient. But a lot of that, you know, efficiency doesn't just come down to the saws you're running, it comes down to practice. Practice, practice, practice. You know, I always tell people, like, just go for it and try it. But at the same time, you have to be careful. Don't bite off more than you can chew. If you're not comfortable doing on-site work for somebody, don't agree to do it. Don't set yourself up for failure. Don't agree to do it. If you've never done a 6, 7, 8 foot bear, doesn't mean you turn the job down, but it does mean you make sure you're practiced up, or your customer knows exactly, maybe not exactly, but pretty close to what they're going to get. They can look at your smaller pieces, you know, 2, 3, 4 footers, 5 footers, and know that if you go to an 8 footer, 6, 7, 8 footer, it's going to be very similar in style. So a lot of things come down to practice as well. Speed, time, efficiency really boils down to practice, and then it also boils down to the units you're running. So, right, smaller units are going to run slower. They're going to seem fast when you first start, but once you get going, you get into bigger logs, these cut very slow. Great for detail, small carvings. Big logs cut fast, right? But you got to make big cuts, long cuts. 20 saws with 25-inch bars. I mean, it just depends on what it is. So, you know, I'm a steel guy, right? Well, plenty of Husqvarna guys and Echo people on here and that kind of stuff. This is what I've started with. They're steel units, and so that's what I've stuck with. I enjoy working on them. These are just what I run, guys. So we'll have plenty of people that hate the 170. We'll have plenty of people that hate the 250s. But to be honest, if you do your due diligence, if you keep them clean, if you take care of them, always run 91 octane or more. I like to mix the Steel HP Ultra stuff, which is synthetic oil mix. Never add extra oil. Mix it just like it says. Always check your air filters regularly. Check your spark arresters. You know, keep your saws in good, clean working order, and they will continue to work for you for a long, long time. So just kind of like a quick short video about saws. You know, hopefully it'll help you guys out. I see a lot of questions and videos about this kind of stuff, but appreciate everybody watching. Now, real quick, we are going to end up, I recently got this 182. At some point, we're going to take this 3/8 pitch sprocket. We'll probably put a quarter on it. We'll size this bar down a little bit, and we'll make this a little bit more of a smaller to medium carver slash detail sort of saw. We'll also, in that same video, probably do that with 172, or that'll be a separate video just to kind of show you guys. It's pretty easy. Getting the parts is probably the hardest part of the process, but I want you guys to be able to do some of these things yourself. Now, keep in mind, you buy brand new saws, you do modifications to them that don't come from the factory, you can void your warranty. Things can always go wrong. You can always break stuff. You know, you can always have problems. You could get hurt. You're making changes to a factory or stock thing to something that is not factory or stock. And so, you know, a chain could break due to the customization you did by just changing a sprocket in a bar. You can have failures. Again, you could get hurt. So when you make changes to a chainsaw, a stock chainsaw, to whatever it is you want to do for carving and things, then, you know, really the safety's in your own hands. But also keep in mind, if it's brand new, you've potentially voided your warranty. So just letting you guys know, you know, like, just real quick example, the 172 comes with, I believe, a 3/8 pitch sprocket, 16-inch bar and chain, 43 gauge. If we go ahead and we put a quarter pitch sprocket on that with quarter pitch 43 gauge chain, 12-inch dime tip bar, and something happens, we did that work ourselves, I'm not sure your dealer is going to warranty that. Also, if you get hurt from those changes that you did yourself, you know, Steel, your dealer, whatever, potentially going to tell you tough luck. So that's just some, you know, some stuff to kind of keep in mind. I know we live in a world where people get hurt and they just, yeah, it's just crazy. But anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully this will help you guys out. Again, remember that safety gear, and if you guys have any questions about this stuff, feel free to ask, comment below. Appreciate y'all watching. Be sure to give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe, check out some videos popping up. I'll see you guys in the next video.